the Mark Guehi deal. I would like to speak on Isak, but there's nothing else needs to be added for Alexander Isak. It is what it is. It's pretty straightforward. He's a Liverpool player. 125 million pounds. A lot of money was spent. We know this. Now he needs to bang and perform on the big stages, because otherwise it would be all for nothing. We also have Florian Wirtz, who needs to start making things happen. Had a better performance against Arsenal the other day, but does need to improve as well. However, the attack, not that worried about. Midfield is okay. It was defensive side of things on Liverpool that we were looking at, thinking, okay, maybe we need to improve. We need to do a few things and make some adjustments and whatnot. And evidently that was seen to be Giovanni Leone from, I think it was Parma, for what, 30-odd million euros, I think it was. And also, potentially, it would have been Mike Guehi from Crystal Palace, who is in his final year in his contract, for around about 35 mil, 40 million pounds. And that would have been the business for Liverpool. It would have been a relative 10 out of 10 window. Everything would have been good. But the Mike Guehi deal didn't happen. It was all said and done. It was going to be, and then it wasn't. So on screen now, you can see the tweet from Fab. It says here, breaking: Liverpool agreed deal to sign Mike Guehi from Crystal Palace. Here we go. Deal in place for 35 mil plus 10% sell-on clauses included in the package. Guehi agreed personal terms 1 month ago. Okay, that's important to note. 1 month ago, Guehi said yes to moving to Liverpool. So that happened a long time ago. And that seemed to be the case. That was always going to be what the story was, what the situation was. Personal terms were not a problem. Everything was good to go. Easy as. But of course, nothing ever else. Nothing really is easy. So it didn't happen. Now, why didn't it happen? Well, some will say that there was an interference. Someone intervened. As we change the screen up here, as you can see there. Breaking: Mike Guehi deal has collapsed. So that went from my time at 12:17 a.m., so just past midnight, and then the collapse ended up being 4:45 a.m. So close to 5 hours later, the deal was off. Despite medical having been done and deal sheet submitted, Crystal Palace don't approve the move following Igor deal off. So Igor apparently was meant to move to Palace, but evidently went to West Ham, and so the club couldn't get a backup or a player to stand in on Mark Guehi's departure, and therefore apparently Oliver Glasner pulled the plug. Now, why did I say Oliver Glasner pulled the plug? Well, moving on to everyone's favourite in the know for this season, at least so far, Indicator. Apparently, again, this is all ifs, buts, and maybes. This is all potentials. So we're just going to read through this and see if we can pick it apart. So it says here, just in, and this was at 4:10 p.m. today, so a few hours ago. Says, just in, manager was ready to quit, private jet was ready for takeoff. It was in the final hours of the transfer window, and there's a serious conversation at Crystal Palace. Now, also to note, TalkSport, if you want to believe TalkSport or not, also did report this as well, that there was a bit of a standoff between Glasner and the club, potentially saying that if you do let go of Isak, I will quit, I will leave. Well, shit, what does that say for the man who's at the helm of your club in terms of managing? But in any case, the club's owners are in shock because the manager, Oliver Glasner, had made it clear if Mike Guehi gets sold, he's out. Now, I don't know how true these rumours are, but this is potentially what the story is. Was he bluffing? Guehi, meanwhile, is just sitting in a nearby location with his family and friends after doing his farewell video for Palace. Fans totally blindsided, and there was a full farewell Palace that was leaked. So everything was done. Everything was ready to go. It was ready to say, okay, you know what? We've done this farewell package. Thank you, Mike Guehi, for everything that you've done so far, etc., etc. And then, bang, it was released or leaked. And when you watch it, it is a little bit sad. It's sad in a heartwarming way. Like you see like the bond he had and all the good stuff that he did with the club, being the captain and all that, winning the trophies and whatnot. So you can say, fair enough, he did what he did there. It says, he thought he was off to live his dream with a private jet ready to whisk him away to his big media duties at LFC. But nope, manager flexes his power and suddenly that dream is on hold. It was a tense moment for everyone involved. Again, this is Indicator. Take it with a pinch of salt, if you will. But I've seen other people mention this as well. throughout the day from what I've seen. Guehi never made a fuss about wanting to leave. We'll come back to that shortly. He just assumed the club would let him go without any drama. Now Liverpool sitting back relaxed, thinking they can target him at a discount come January due to the player having 6 months left on his contract. So that's the situation at the moment. Indicator basically stating that Glasner pulled the plug on this deal because they couldn't get a replacement in, and he was going to kick up a stink if there was going to be any sort of pushback from them. And it wasn't just Indicator. There was also the Tactical Times who reported this as well. The centre-back, they plan to replace Guehi with Wooden joined because he wasn't guaranteed to get minutes, apparently. It doesn't make any sense. A conspiracy-minded person might think this was a spot of sabotage by a manager with a focus on his own short-term future. So the story now goes is that Oliver Glasner hasn't re-signed or continued his current stay at Crystal Palace, meaning that he's looking to move away from Crystal Palace and maybe potentially go on to another club, if that be Manchester United, Bayer Leverkusen, and are looking for a manager as well after sacking Ten Hag after only 2 or 3 games. So yes, there are some things that really need to be looked at in a spot here, because it just doesn't look good on any front here. But what does this say about the state of how clubs are ran these days, where players have to strike, act up, be called rats, refuse to train, refuse to play when they want out? We understand we want all players to stay on and be at our clubs for as long as possible. You're signed for 5 years, we want you to stay for another 5 years. We want 10 years. So sign for 5, another 3, another 2, whatever it is. Well, that's what we want. We want to see that happen. It doesn't always work out that way. So what are you going to do? Keep a player that doesn't want to be there against their will and force them, or leave them in the reserves, or to rot on the bench and other things like that? Or make some money from the sale of the player and then reinvest it in another player that's going to be there, that wants to play for you. There's no point in keeping an unhappy player. As much as I wanted to keep Torres way back when, he wanted to move on, broken promises, whatever it is, cool. Sold him to Chelsea for 50 mil, no problems. We moved on from there. Coutinho, as much as we loved him as Liverpool fans, he wanted to move on. He thought it was bigger than the club and everything else. Cool, no worries. Had a stink up, came back. All right, whatever. Bang, sold him. Thank you very much. We reinvested in the squad. Alisson, Van Dijk, etc., etc. Like, these things do have a way of working out if you spend wisely. Same shit with Suarez. We wanted him to stay on. He gave us another year. After that, bang, 80 mil to Barcelona, tore it up over there. Now he's still spitting and biting people till this very day. Very odd behavior for the Uruguayan. But these things happen. There's no point in keeping the player that doesn't want to be there, bro. Just make money off of them and have them go. If it's on a free, if it's for money, whatever it is, just make the deal happen. But that's that. I'm just going to wrap it up. That's pretty much it there. That's pretty much it. Glasner denied the deal because they couldn't organize a replacement in time, or their replacement backfired, or maybe he just thought, nah, bin this. I'm the man in charge here, not you, Mr. Steve Parish. How dare you? I am going to be the one to dictate how this plays out here. If you sell Guehi, I am leaving. I won't be here anymore. But what's there to stop him moving to another club between now and January, or the end of the current season? What's there to stop him moving to Leverkusen, United, for example? If they sack Amorim, what's there to stop him moving there? Nothing. So he would have basically kept a player who was set to leave. Everything was in motion for them to move to another club for his own personal gain, to better himself. And don't worry about the player's self-interest as well. Just my self-interest, because I need the best players here so I can get good with what I want, so I can better myself. It's mad how it works out, bro.